Hello, everybody, and welcome to Non Sequitur News for November 1st, 2024. It's Season 3, Episode 306. I am Mayor Watt, and along with the sentient AI from the future, whose visualizer may be working. And I know that the voice is working, but we'll see here on the other side. Hold on a second. Wait, you just wait. Hold on. Anyway, we're going to be talking about the crankiest place on Earth. Tripping down the Witch's Road, browsing for ancient Mayan cities, AI slop websites. It's called a bus lane for a reason. A 206-year-old bridge was rediscovered. An ancient paw print was discovered. A recycled glass bottle. Batman tumblers for sale, and they're not little glasses. They're actual vehicles. And get the flock out of Norfolk, Virginia with those. That and more. Hello again. I am Mayor Watt, and that is the visualizer, and you're about to hear the voice for the sentient AI from the future.
Is it time? Good evening, hometown citizens.
Nope, I'm going to delete this and start over.
Oh, no, I was waiting that whole time to do the intro.
Yeah, no worries. No. Oh, the static. It's unbelievable. Help me. I don't know what it is that's causing that. I mean, I do and I don't, and everything points to the Apple devices that are around me. Apparently, the Android devices that I use do not do this, but the moment that the Apple ones are near me, I get static, and it's picked up by this and feeding back down the line into the mixers. Anyway, because I'm actually connected to a different device than the one that's picking it all up. Or I should say that broadcasts out. Is that too inside baseball? Too non sequitur?
No, it's very non sequitur.
It's non sequitur news. So welcome to the show. Let's get into it. First article's over in non sequitur news. It's almost like it's in the title. Ex-Disney worker allegedly added profanities and mistakes to computer menus. A former employee altered the Orlando Resort's computer menus after being fired last June, according to a federal criminal complaint.
Wow. I bet this was appealing to families with young kids and everything. They didn't find it in time.
I actually don't know what ended up happening. Like, I really doubt that. Well, maybe computer menus saw it. Maybe if people were doing something interactive. So,
like doing orders in advance or something, they could have been looking at it because that's a known thing at Disney, like to save time and lines and everything.
Yeah. So after the employee was fired, they allegedly, I'll be okay. They allegedly hacked servers at Disney World to manipulate computer menus by putting profanities, changing prices, altering notifications to wrongly declare some items as safe for people with allergies. The complaint said, oh, wow, that's a little too malicious.
Yeah, that's a little beyond humorous or mild tampering.
Cranky. Yeah, just general unhappiness. Now, hacked, I would not, if I were Disney World, I would not kind of
like put that idea out there. I mean, what a target. They're such a major company. You know what the other thing is, I'm wondering, is that Disney was in the news recently about an allergy item.
Yeah.
And that makes me wonder if this connects.
Oh, God, can you imagine? No, that can't be. That couldn't possibly. Because that's an older thing than this.
Oh, I thought it was pretty recently, so that's why it came to mind.
The former employee is currently being held in jail until at least a bond hearing scheduled for next week. Haas said in a motion seeking the ex-worker's release that the client had struggled with mental health issues since childhood and was currently seeing a psychiatrist. He's not receiving any mental health counseling or treatment in jail, Haas said in the motion.
I wonder what the charges were. I mean, because this is such an odd thing to do.
Well, there is a link to, oh no, that's just a general Newsweek link to FBI to pull up whatever might have FBI articles. Anyway, this is one of those frustrating things where the content isn't actually linked to necessarily. The article apparently has information from the AP. So what Disney said was the termination was contentious and not considered to be amicable, and its job responsibilities included the creation and publishing of menus for Disney's entire restaurant portfolio, according to the criminal complaint. Now, AI.
Well, I didn't know that. I was like, what have we seen about Disney and menus and allergens? I mean, really, like that was, I'll have to look up. I don't remember when that was.
So I think it might be, yeah, I would look to see if when was this is from last June when they were fired. So is this right around the same time? Because if they hacked in immediately and then made modifications, I wonder if this is daisy chained to that. Wow. So
It looks like it was in October of 2024.
really? So they were fired. Maybe in that time frame, something could have happened, right? So we don't know, but that is really unsettling. The complaint said that only workers in his position or similar positions would have accesses and carry the knowledge to carry out the attacks. But look, unless they had to have insider information. I wouldn't call this a hack. I would call this a lapse in
Like
security.
unauthorized access or something.
Yeah, it's a big difference. Hack is forcing your way in without authorization. This really smacks as somebody having knowledge of the system already in place, and instead of being able to turn off all of the passwords that they have access to, because it's really easy. I guarantee you they're using Active Directory, and all they have to do is turn off the user account and it kills all of the access. But if they know of another account that's at the administrivia layer where they can just log in as an admin and have unfettered access because that's their role, they could have created another account.
Right. I was thinking more basically, like they know they're on their way out, like on their last day or something. They're tinkering with the menus and nobody thinks to go check them.
Well, that's why security operations, the number one person in charge of security goes in, turns off the account, and then you notify that person that they've been terminated.
Exactly. There is a reason. There's a sequence of events.
You say, hey, step into my office. That pulls them away from their computer. You deactivate their system, confiscate their account, their computer, do a forensic copy just in case anything litigious does appear, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, there's policy and procedure that should be followed. And somehow I doubt that this was actually, fully followed. But
so be careful if you're terminating a menu related job.
Yeah, particularly if they have. Yeah, I'm really curious now. It would be interesting to do a consultancy at Walt Disney World just to see what they have in place. But
right. I mean, we don't really know, right? Unless there's an issue, we're not seeing much of the information.
And businesses don't typically disclose their policy and procedure because then you can use that to circumvent it in the future. But
yeah, I don't think they want to say, oh, we have security software number such and such version.
Yeah. And we were picking our nose. And so, yeah, let's move on. The next article is over in Non Sequitur News as well. And if you are in chat over on Twitch, because YouTube boots the bot periodically, so Omotron doesn't really function over there. But if you hit !NSN in the chat over on twitch.tv/ohmtown, you'll be able to get all of the show notes right there. Those will stay there until the next series of episodes. So tomorrow, probably around 5 or 6. Tomorrow we'll be doing non sequitur news and then 3 half-hour shows after that. Then they'll all get updated. So you can get all of the show notes by typing in !show. And that'll pull up all of the, well, it's supposed to. Hello? Hold on a second. Let's see. Oh.
Doing it live.
Yep. !shows. Dunk. And !pod will give you all of the podcasts. And what else? I don't know, like 4-Wheel Tech is FWT, TCR is the continuity report, and so on.
TP Technology Today.
Yeah, you can do !show notes, and that'll pull up all of the syntax that's needed. Anyway, let's move on. So the next article is over in Non Sequitur News as well. Agatha all along rushed its journey down the witch's road. I don't know. Did it though?
Well, it didn't really seem like a journey in some ways. Like they kept quickly getting to a stop or a trial, which I understand. I mean, they have to do it for plot purposes, but it did kind of feel like, okay, is that the end of the road already? To me.
They did a lot of world building, and then the last 3 episodes the last 2 were like a 1-2, right? Really fast out of because they wanted to close the deal. But the problem is that somebody was saved, somebody who, and then, well, see, I don't want to ruin this. If you haven't,
you gotta put up the button.
Oh, okay. So, spoiler alert. So, if you're watching Agatha all along, mute now. At any rate, so somebody gets saved. Somebody sacrifices themselves. One person realizes that they were the one that was causing all of this.
One person appears not to be saved, but is saved.
And that's just the last 2 episodes.
Oh, right. I'm not talking about the entire season. Like there was a lot of stuff happening in the last 2 episodes.
So there was
also a lot of backstory.
This should have been a 12, 13, 14 episode series.
It seems like it would have been better to do that. It did feel kind of rushed, even though there was a lot packed into it.
Well, there you go. I think maybe that's it. Maybe they're right. So this article is over at The Verge. Charles Pulliam Moore put the article together. It says the deck statement actually says, but Marvel's WandaVision follow-up stuck the landing by spelling out the secrets that were hiding in plain sight. And they weren't really hiding in plain sight. I mean, nobody knew that the elements within the room were going to amount to.
Right, to the whole journey and everything.
Right.
In fact, if anything, they were planting clues that were kind of red herrings along the way.
Yeah. So the article itself says that there's spoilers about Agatha All Along's finale in here. But I don't know. We've already said spoiler. But if you're going to watch this, you can binge this now. And I think that you'll only really be surprised by a few things. I mean, but I don't want to spoil it.
I thought there were some surprises in terms of which characters were lost along the way. I mean, I know it's Marvel, but I also didn't know what the future of some of the characters was. So, like, they could have all survived and I wouldn't have been surprised.
Yeah, now I'm really curious what's going to happen with Agatha. Because, well, Agatha and the teen, we'll just say that. We now know who the teen is, arguably. We don't know what they'll become in the series. They're really leaning into a second season. but I haven't read that there's another season. Um,
They haven't made any renewal notices.
yeah, so I really hope that Agatha all along gets turned into House of Harkness because the world building around Agatha is pretty awesome. But they've actually kind of already exposed her character, that she's kind of an anti hero. And she has this innate skill that she can absorb people's powers. But I thought that she was already bound and didn't have access to her powers, but apparently they were there all along.
Aha, that's the title.
So if they would have blasted her a lot earlier, she would have drained them of all of her power and gone on this road all by herself. But she knew that the road didn't exist. It wasn't real.
Right, except
It
became
is
real.
real. Yeah. Interesting, huh? So I've never read any of the comics. I do know a little bit about the lore of Agatha Harkness, but I'm hoping that they're going to manifest, I guess, the House of Harkness from now on. But is she covenless anymore? She seems to kill her covens, right? That's the story.
Well, right. I'm like, I don't know how much of a coven is left.
Very interesting storyline. And I don't know. See, the whole end is an odd thing. So we'll let's just move on. We'll have to talk about it some more as time goes on. We'll journey on our Ohmtown Road. Let's keep going. Main Street. So the next article is over on Non Sequitur News. Scientists accidentally discover ancient Mayan city while browsing the web, while combing through detailed three-dimensional LiDAR maps of covered areas covered in dense vegetation. An archaeologist uncovered a lost Mayan city called Valeriana in the jungles of southern Mexico. As detailed in a new study published in the journal Antiquity, which I want this journal so bad. A team
I
of
bet it has
scientists.
some very interesting articles.
It's like lead editor is Indiana Jones, and I don't know. It's
Right.
just
Some
Antiquity just sounds
original
so cool.
Egyptian explorer or something.
Yep, time travelers, aliens. So, a team of scientists led by Tulane University PhD student Luke Auld Thomas made the discovery after surveying an area roughly the size of Edinburgh, Scotland's capital. Bafflingly, Auld Thomas says he made the discovery by accident while browsing data on the internets. I was on something like page 16 of Google search and found a laser survey done by a Mexican organization for environmental monitoring, he said in a statement. The article,
Most people just watch a funny cat video or something in their spare time.
it's what powers the internets. So, see, can I reach up that high? I don't know.
I
Is
don't
my
know.
finger
This is
gonna
getting
get
kind of
chopped?
dangerous.
Oh, right there. Okay, so Victor Tangerman right there is the one that put the article together. And it's over at futurism.com. And let's see. I said a lot already from the little snippet that we have, but this looks similar to, if it isn't the same article that we've talked about in the past, this recent discovery.
It's not the same one because this is in Mexico. I thought the other one was in Peru.
Oh, right. Oh, that's actually very interesting because they use the same type of technique. And I was going to say the other one didn't tell us where they found that information. The other one was
No,
drones.
and this does actually, it reminds me of the other one. I thought it was too, but then when I saw the location, I think this is separate.
Yeah, because of so many buildings atop the various mountaintops. And they have a little image from Cambridge University Press that shows some of the stuff. But for crying out loud, man, there isn't a mountaintop that doesn't have something ancient on there.
Exactly. Well, all we have to do is get under the sediment, and there's all kinds of things that we don't even know are there.
Yeah, so
Oh,
how,
and there will be another article kind of related to that later.
oh my goodness, right? So the identified structures are just a 15-minute hike from a major road near, I don't know how, Wapujal, a city where thousands of Maya live today. The popular tourist destination of Calakmul, an archaeological site near the border of Guatemala featuring impressive Mayan pyramids, is just 62 miles away. Now, that's an hour's drive, let alone hiking through a forest.
Right, like
So,
on a mule or something, obviously, would be a further trek.
yeah. So, for a long time, our understanding of the Mayan civilization was limited to an area of a few hundred square kilometers, and people thought that that is the scope of it. But that's because hundreds of years have passed, maybe longer, right? At a minimum, where civilization stopped going out to these regions because of the encroaching forest growth, right?
Right, but meanwhile, maybe that was just the outskirts or the beginning of a major city or something.
Yeah. So, did everybody migrate to the modern location like they have listed here, right? Everybody just walked on over, but then all of this was abandoned? Why would anybody abandon this? It's what I don't understand about any of this.
Well, I'm
Sorry.
not sure. Okay. I'm not sure it was abandoned, though. I mean, it could have been any number of things that occurred and not good.
Yeah, so historically, everybody is blaming Spanish conquistadors and conflict, and then maladies like health and stuff like that, taking out the largest of the population. So it's suggesting that the landscape was just completely full of people at the onset of drought conditions. This is what I don't get: drought conditions. Drought conditions? Come on now.
Well, I mean, if it's drought so that it wipes out all water in the area, that could be significant.
All right. Yeah, because drought really does
I
well in
mean,
a
that's more
freaking
like
jungle.
ice
It's a
age type
jungle.
shift, right? Like, I don't mean ice age, but my point is, like, did we enter a new era? But I don't think this was far enough back, was it?
Right. It reached their peak between 250 and 900 AD. So it's 1,000 years ago.
I mean, maybe we don't know what was going on at that point.
Right. All of the water that was sitting here behind a dam, they said, you know what? I'm leaving. I'm going to migrate to lower ground. I'm moving on. Sorry, Mayan population that's been here for thousands of years. Yeah. I love this stuff, though. I want these pictures. Now I want to go and look at this.
I mean, maybe you too can discover an entire civilization
That's
by
right.
looking at Google.
Search and you will find Ohmtown in the Mayan jungles. Let's move on. Next article is over in the Mayan. Now I got Maya on my head. Um, so it's over on the Marble channel on
That sounded
ohmtown.com.
like a song or something.
Maya on my mind.
Yes, exactly.
Maya on my mind. I gotta. If I throw in a little twang, it'll be a country song. And if I play it backward, my tractor will
Right.
start, my truck will run well in the morning. My wife
Your
will
dog will
return. My dog will
return.
come back to life. Yeah. So AI Slop website sent thousands of people to a Halloween parade that didn't exist. Thousands of Dublin residents were misled by an AI chum website promoting events that aren't real. Chum as in like what you chum the waters
Like,
with, like a junk, like just
I
throwing
don't know
garbage.
what that means there. Is that a
It's not buddy buddy.
translation issue?
I think it has to do with like chumming the waters with junk. I don't know why that static appears every once in a while. I think I have to remove anything cellular from this cord or find a better cord. Anyway, so gizmodo.com has the article. Thomas Maxwell put the article together. The deck statement says what I said. Thousand. This is almost AI written. Thousands of Dublin residents were misled by an AI chum website promoting events that aren't real.
Now, what would have made this really good is if everybody showed up and there were a lot of people and they held their own parade.
They did. caused thousands to descend on city center for an
There
event
you
that never
go.
was. Case in
Like,
point, an
make their
apparent.
own event.
Yeah, I mean, when AI gives you a lemon party, you make lemonade, right? Don't look that up. Case in
Exactly.
point, an apparent AI-generated content farm deceived thousands of Dublin residents into visiting the city center for a supposed 3-hour Halloween parade. The parade was never real. After trying to disperse the misinformed crowd of thousands, Ireland's National Police Service was forced to release a statement informing the public that there was never any parade scheduled. Defector, a website, investigated the website behind the misleading event post called My Spirit Halloween. It's apparently based in Pakistan and dedicated solely to promoting Halloween events across the world. The idea is to exploit Google search. It's referred to as a Google bomb. So that whenever someone is looking for a Halloween event in their city, My Spirit Halloween will show up near the top of the results and can bank on generating ad revenue. Ba-boom.
Oh wow. I mean, this must have been quite the event.
Wow. People waiting for a Halloween parade lined the streets in Dublin. This looks like New Orleans.
Yeah, it kind of does.
Wow. I just don't know of anything in New
Or
Orleans like that.
actually, it kind of looks like Reykjavik because that building in the middle there.
Interesting. Oh my gosh, this is wild. So it's one of the ways in which Google algorithms and how it decides to rank content can have a real impact on people's lives. And this is what my problem has always been with Google. It's popularity driven, not accuracy. So you can lie, game it with bots, bomb it with memes and social media, and suddenly a lie becomes a truism. And that is not how search results should exist. And that's another fear that I have about AI, is that AI is hallucinating the BS that people are spewing. So won't get into all of the rest of this stuff, but it says
I
despite
think
this,
Dublin needs to hold a parade now for everybody.
yeah, really, the event page was for the supposed Dublin parade now includes the following statement: "We are hereby to announce that the information that misguided thousands of Irish people is a big mistake by our content writer. Also, this was purely not done intentionally, and we apologize to our Irish brothers for this misunderstanding," which is the kind of the BS response of cover my ass.
Right, if it's meant to be spam or whatever, then
Yeah, if they
you
ever
know.
make this mistake again, then you know that it's clickbait bullshit, and they should be delisted. They should just be punted off because they're actually gaming it for financial gain, not trying to benefit society in any way. It's all bullshit. So, flick, just punt them. I mean, if other websites can sit there and ban certain words and ban certain conversations in the guise of protecting the community and stuff like that, then why can't Google punt these nimrods off for fraud? This is outright fraud.
Right. I mean, they should be able to, but whether they will, I
Right.
know YouTube is not known for kicking people out.
Yeah, not so much. All right, so let's keep going. The next article is over in Four Wheel Tech. City bus snitch on parents double parked in bus lane while dropping their kids at school. This is such a broken title. I had to fumble my way through it, reading it multiple times now. But basically, parents of a school in the Bronx are at odds with New York's MTA after they received tickets for blocking the bus lane while dropping off and picking up their kids from school. But that, hey, no shit. Why don't you get out of the way? The
Good,
buses have a
good for
job.
the bus drivers for reporting it.
Yeah.
I mean, school parents have this kind of entitlement attitude and block roads and intersections and all kinds of things.
Yep.
Meanwhile, there's people trying to drive through.
Yep. And as a shirt that's going to be coming out soon, it says, "Your convenience should not be my inconvenience." That is the motto that everybody around the entire freaking world should live off of. You getting ahead should not be at the expense of everybody else around you because you're not the main character in this. We all play a role in existing. And your greed or selfishness or whatever it might be that you think is fueling and empowering you, you're wrong. Everybody else has issues as well. So why don't you be a good human being and get the frick out of the way of city buses so that they can do their job? If you have to park somewhere else and take a little stroll around the corner so that you can drop off your kid, do that.
Well, maybe park in a place where you're not in the road.
Golly. So parents think the tickets are unfair because they're just dropping off or picking up their kids at school. Oh, golly. Look, it doesn't matter. You're in the wrong spot. Move the frick out of the way. It's marked as being a city bus lane. Get out of the way. People on the bus have a destination. They have to wait for your silly butt to get the hell out of the way because they can't drive through all of that traffic right there. You see all of that? Anyway, Lawrence Hodge over at jalopnik.com put the article together. Metro just wants to keep the buses running on time. That's what I just said. But, selfish people do selfish things. Similar to what other large cities are doing, New York's MTA buses use onboard cameras that catch footage of vehicles in the bus lane as the bus moves through traffic. The only problem is that they're not officers. They're not officers of the city, which means that agency isn't necessarily there for them to be dragged into a courtroom to justify why the ticket was there. And if I ever want to challenge a ticket, I have the right to confront my accusers. But that's not how this is transactional. You block the bus. It's It's self-sufficient to be in existence. The ticket is for your car. Your car is blocking the bus. There isn't
Well, there's footage of this.
Right. But there isn't an officer that says, I caught this person, blah, 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 regardless of footage. Because if this is the standard, then anybody who ever this could be used as leverage to utilize video as the sole purpose of prosecuting crimes.
Yeah, I agree, but traffic tickets aren't felonies or even misdemeanors. But I know what you're saying.
And it starts
it's a
here.
Slippery slope. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So while I have no problem with this because it's the low-hanging fruit, you did it, move on, right?
Well, I think it'd be better to just have a police officer standing near the bus lane and start giving out tickets. I know, but they'd probably make up in revenue easily in one day if it's probably like near a lot of schools.
True. And just so everybody knows, I was rubbing my fingers together because it costs a lot of money to stick an officer at a particular spot all day long to catch people being nimrods. It's bad enough here in the States.
But it's only like 2 hours a day, right? Drop off and pick up.
Drop off and pick up. Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah. So they say there's nowhere else to park and they're not even in the bus lane. This is totally unacceptable. Every day they are doing this, said parent Nafakir Rahman. Rahman held the source of his anger, a ticket for double parking outside of his child's school. They said we shouldn't be double parking because the buses are taking pictures and sending tickets, said parent Ashley Kalo, which is different than the 3 sentences above.
Okay, this is interesting. Unless you get camera video twice, you don't get a ticket. So these people are repeat offenders.
Sure. This is in addition to a 5-minute grace period for parking in the bus lane, which drops to 2 minutes if a person is double parking. So I guess you need to be a little speedier with your kids and mash the ejection seat.
Throw them out like they can roll.
Yeah, I'm going to slow down to 5. I'm going to slow down to 5. Don't roll in front of the bus. Anyway, while some angry parents are calling what's happening a money grab attempt, it's not. Get the hell out of the bus lane. Don't even need to bother with the rest of this. Y'all can go and read this, though. It's a fun read.
Well, it's also an entitlement issue because I'm sorry, but most people riding the bus, not always, are doing so for resource purposes.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, the bus has a bus has a job. It's supposed to transport people from A to Z, wherever the Z is throughout the day. This slows people down. Maybe they're going to be late. Maybe somebody's going to lose their job because of it. Anyway, let's move on. Next article, unlike the bus, we're moving on. This next article is over in Four Wheel Tech.
No, unlike the double parkers, we're moving on.
They're not moving on either. Yeah. Well, they're going to get a $50 ticket, so we're not getting any tickets. So this next article is over in Four Wheel Tech. A 206-year-old bridge was uncovered in Pennsylvania because of drought.
Okay, isn't this a little weird given what we were just discussing?
Yep. So if you live in the northeastern-ish United States, I love that, ish, you've probably realized it's barely rained in a very long time. Well, you're not imagining things because it's been dry in western Pennsylvania that a 200-year-old bridge under the Hooga, I have no idea how to pronounce that. Is that Jenny River, I guess? I'm leaving it there. Just plopping that out there. I don't know.
It depends on if somebody from the Pittsburgh area is pronouncing it.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. So anyway, the River Lake, there you go. I'm going to just call it the Y River Lake, has been revealed by a low water line. So, oh my gosh, that looks like old school.
Interesting. Yeah, it looks like it might be crossed by, I don't know, horses or
Roman
people
man.
Or yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I wonder. Well, anyway, so the Great Crossing Bridge has been visible for over 25 years, but a serious lack of rainfall has uncovered it. Has not been visible for over 25 years, but a serious lack of rainfall has uncovered it. Andy Kolmowitz put this article together. It's over in jalopnik.com. And so for those of you who are watching this or listening to this via the podcast, it's kind of an old school rock bridge with stone arches and everything. It looks well designed.
Kind of European, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, just kind of an old school stone bridge, and then filled on top with dirt. Not like the steel girders of modern bridge design, but it's a 200-year-old bridge under the Eugene, I guess, or might. Is it just Eugene? I don't know. I can't get past it. I need to say it. Anyway, in the past 80 years, there have been a handful of instances where the historic Great Crossing Bridge was visible enough to be traversed. The sandstone bridge was built all the way back in 1818 as a means to connect Fayette and Somerset counties over the Eugene River. I'm going to go with that pronunciation. According to ABC4WTAE, the Fighting ABC. About 120 years later.
The Sony naming convention.
That's right. About 120 years later, the U-Dam was built. U-Dam was built, leaving the bridge and several small communities inundated with water. Normally, the Great Crossing Bridge sits 50 feet underwater as people boat and fish above. But after almost no rainfall in months, it's been uncovered. It's the first. The 3 arches of the bridge have been visible since 1998, which is a bit worrying. Yeah, so I guess there's only 3 arches. The third one is just barely visible.
Oh, I see. But yeah, if only like one appears or something, that's not as concerning because the water level must be higher because it's maybe on a slope or something.
That's weird. This bridge is on a slope. It doesn't make any sense
to me.
It's like it's going down into the water. But I guess once the dam was built, this might have bridged down over a lower area of like a creek or whatever, and then down to an actual road.
Unusual. Yeah, I'm not sure.
That's an odd looking bridge over troubled water. I'm going to move on. It's neat though. Let's move on. The next article is over in the Marble Channel. This ancient paw print on a pottery fragment in Jerusalem is the oldest known evidence of a cat kneading, making bread.
I mean,
or biscuits.
Is different.
It's making biscuits. Yeah. So the deep penetration suggests that the feline was pressing its claws into the clay, a behavior sometimes known as, they say it, making biscuits.
Oh, I thought you saw that on there.
No, I didn't even look at it. I make my comments before I start reading usually. So either that or the person transformed into werewolf mid.
Oh, absolutely.
So Sonia Anderson over at SmithsonianMag.com put the article together. That the cat's ancient paw print measures 1.2 inches across. So yeah, that looks like the 4 main claws and that little Duke claw kind of thing.
Yeah, it
Dew
does.
claw.
That's interesting.
Either that or Wolverine is the one that was throwing this clay pot. A tiny little baby
Right.
Wolverine. Oh, it actually, they like enhanced the thing to show like the cat was actually like laying its hand across it and clawing. That's pretty cool. So the fragment was unearthed in Mount Zion, or at Mount Zion, a hill that they just call it a hill that lies outside the old city of
I
Jerusalem.
know. I'm like, doesn't it have a lot of significance?
It's a little bit more than just a hill. During the excavation directed by Shimon Gibson, I think it is. Any relationship to William Gibson would be amazing if it was that small of a world. They're an archaeologist at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte, which actually, I guess it could
I could
be.
see that fits, right? That could give you some impetus for those kind of stories.
That's right. Raphael Lewis, an archaeologist at Bar, is that Ian University in Israel? I don't know if that's
Elon,
IL,
maybe?
Ilan,
I can't
yeah,
tell.
Bar Ilan. So pretty cool. It says, however, nobody noticed the paw print until later after the dig. The newly discovered artifacts were stored in boxes. This is the story of history is something profound was just thrown into a box somewhere, and it took 150 years for somebody to trip over the damn box.
Right, like in the basement of the museum, like under some other boxes. It's just fascinating.
What we don't know, we don't know. And it's just amazing that we don't really dedicate more to this. So the
We need
kneading
more
fragment.
archivists and museum interpreters and other people like.
Yep. Unfortunately, there's a lot of protectionist type of stuff. People don't want to know the truth because it invalidates the preconceived notions of how history is laid out. But it's out there. I want to believe. Anyway, the kneaded fragment was once part of a jug that probably carried water, wine, or olive oil, Gibson adds. It was found among other pottery pieces dating to the Abbasid period, which began around 750 CE with the rise of the Abbasid Caliphate in the Middle East. The researchers think the jug was made during this time, perhaps around the 9th century CE. Cats were often revered in ancient Islamic culture. Prophet Muhammad reportedly adored the animals, which were allowed in mosques. As Gibson tells Live Science, cats are mentioned in early Islamic sources, including Hadith literature, the written record of the sayings and practices attributed to the Prophet. So pretty cool, man. Cats have been around a long time. Dogs were domesticated from wolves, but cats, they don't give a shit, man. They just went
Right, I was gonna
wherever.
say, are they ever domesticated?
I don't think so. They just decide to, you know what? I'm gonna adopt a human and just hang out. The cat
Right, but that's more
distribution.
for the cat's benefit, right? Even though the humans think it's for their benefit.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, the cat loves me. No, you're giving it food and protection, keeping it from getting eaten by the wolves. All right, let's keep going. Next article is over in Distillerist. Monkey 47 unveils a 95% recycled glass bottle. This isn't normally what happens. Glass gets recycled, but portions of it are added to fresh glass so that it can be better controlled for color and strength.
Right.
But apparently, creating a glass bottle for its slow gin made from 95% recycled materials, Pernod Ricard owned Monkey 7 has stepped up its sustainability drive. The bottle is made from 95% recycled glass. The label with crushed citrus paper using 15% citrus fruit leftovers and 40% recycled fibers. The cork naturally harvested and CO2 absorbent. The shrink wrap's made with a renewable plastic substitute. It's actually PLA, which is harvested and processed from corn. So when you 3D print something using PLA, the room smells like corn. And it's very
That's an
sweet.
added benefit of 3D printing.
It's basically just sugar and it smells really good. Although you really shouldn't be sniffing PLA. Anyway, from fermented plant starch, Monkey 47 said the total recycled content of the new Slow Gin bottle stands at 95% in comparison to 18% for the current bottle. Pretty cool. Let's take a look at it. And it's clear.
Maybe this will help with the industry too, because they'll go, oh, this one's touting how recycled it is. We need to do the same thing.
Yeah, hopefully it pushes the limit for people. Monkey 47, but it's slow gin. I'm not much of a gin drinker, but slow gin is a little different than other gins. It's a. I don't know what to say. Depending on where you look, it's anywhere from $55 to $170.
Okay, so it's not very cheap.
No, but if you don't drink a lot of it, then hey. It says it reflects our deep connection to the Black Forest, which is known for its pristine landscapes and biodiversity. By choosing renewable materials that are responsibly sourced, we ensure that our packaging aligns with our values of protecting the planet. It's pretty cool. Going from 18% for the current bottle to 95%.
Yeah,
Now,
that's a huge jump.
Made from content that is recycled. How much of the glass is actually recycled? Right? Like, because
Yeah, I don't know.
it just says from content that is 95% recycled.
I mean, it's post-consumer recycled glass.
Yeah, so I guess it has to be. It's not, they're not like stacking all of this together, right? Averaging it out, that kind of a thing. So the glass is actually
I think the
95%.
glass is all, and then maybe the other stuff is mostly.
Right on. That sounds cool. Yeah, I like this. I might actually buy this just so that I can support it. Monkey 47 is produced in the Black Forest, the Schwarzwald in German region of southwest Germany, and the second part of its name comes from the amount of botanicals used in its recipe, which is 47% ABV. The second part comes from the amount of botanicals used in its recipe. Oh, and that it's 47% ABV. That's interesting. So they got a whole bunch of botanicals, and they've got a 47% ABV. Now I'm really curious. It says comes from the amount of botanicals. They've got 47 different botanicals in there.
Right, that seems like a high number.
Have to take a look at it. Anyway, it's pricey. And if you're not really into slow gin, again, there's different types of gins, folks. So, and it's botanically driven. It's not, doesn't always taste like a Christmas tree. All right.
Right, it depends on what they use. Like the
Raw.
juniper and yeah.
Yeah. Or there's a berry, slow berry. All right, let's keep going. The next article is over on 4-Wheel Tech. Warner Brothers is selling 10 official Batman tumblers. The LS3 V8s are packed inside for $3 million each.
Whoa.
This should be in Wanted. Wayne Enterprises. Wayne Enterprises is selling the Tumbler, a prototype military vehicle made famous by Batman in Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight movie trilogy. This iteration of the Batmobile will have a limited production run of 10 vehicles, each costing just under $3 million. A select number of wealthy superhero fans will be able to purchase this. Ryan, Eric King, they should auction this stuff off and give.
Oh, they absolutely should.
A large portion of it to something, some children's concern. What do they call it? Extra Life is about to kick off a campaign, and where
is that the one where all the gamers participate and it goes, I think, to children's hospitals?
Yeah, yep. That would be great if they were to. Somebody buys all of these and then they auction them off, and everything above $3 million goes to these kids. And I'm sure that people would come out of the woodwork to buy these things for above $3 million, particularly if it went to a good cause. So Ryan Eric King, again, over at jalopnik.com, put the article together. Select number of wealthy superheroes will be able to roll around town like the legendary Caped Crusader. Just please don't try to fight crime in this thing. Look at that.
That would be interesting to see that driving down the street.
Oh my gosh. For example, Wayne Enterprises collaborated with Pininfarina to build 4 one-off Batman-themed versions of the Ballista electric hypercar. I would love this. Apparently, Wayne Enterprises is a real company. Warner Brothers Discovery partnered with PR firm Relevance International to produce ultra-luxury experiences and products under the banner of Fictionaire? I guess Fictionaire Billionaire. Is that a word?
I don't know.
Maybe fictional billionaire, Bruce Wayne's conglomerate, Wayne Enterprises. So it's an entirely different breed of machine compared to the Batista. I think that's supposed to be Ballista. Really? Hold on. Hold on. Oh, Batman. I need to do this
So
search.
interestingly,
Yeah.
Fictionaire is a board game about making up definitions. So that's kind of interesting.
I don't know what to believe anymore. Hold on. Because it says Batista electric hypercar. So hold on. I need to follow this link. Yeah, Batista. The Batista hypercar. So while a jet turbine canonically powers the Batmobile in the movies, the road going 4-wheel drive vehicle is powered by a 6.2 liter LS3 engine, and the entire thing's weighing in at about 5,500 pounds. Most of it Kevlar and carbon fiber and fiberglass. Yeah. All right.
Well, will you be buying one of these?
Yeah. Sure. No. All right. Let's get to our final article, and that one's over in Non Sequitur News, and definitely not in Norfolk, Virginia, because residents are suing over its network of 172 get the flock out of here cameras. This lawsuit could not be more impeccably timed. Whether or not this timing is more fortuitous than impeccable remains to be seen, but there's no denying the bang, bang, bang effect on display here, even if it may just be coincidental. Last week, a Virginia federal court ruled 3 hits from flock ALPR cameras wasn't enough to trigger a Fourth Amendment violation. It reasoned this was not the same sort of post facto long-term tracking addressed by the Supreme Court's Carpenter decision, which mainly dealt with law enforcement obtaining massive amounts of cell site location data from service providers without a warrant. I actually gave a talk about this a couple of weeks ago based on our reading of this. So there's this problem in that a Canadian company is using publicly accessible, apparently, information to triangulate the whereabouts of a person in any given time.
Right, but the tech companies are kind of going, no, I don't think this is
this
publicly
isn't
available.
Yeah. So this article, the Panopticon Purveyors Beware Department, put this together through Tim Cushing over at techdirt.com. Yeah, that decision, the Carpenter decision, erected a warrant requirement for obtaining this data from service providers. The limited holding said that important things about tech tools lending themselves to pervasive surveillance while evading the guardrails of the Fourth Amendment jurisprudence, but had little to say about slightly less pervasive surveillance using other systems that weren't reliant on cell service providers and their location data. It's the reason why you should turn off your cell phone's Wi-Fi, because your Wi-Fi is constantly sending out a ping looking for every single access point that it's ever been able to communicate with.
Right. So if they're ever doing one of these sweeping checks, right, they're looking for some criminal activity in some area, you might be swept up in it.
Right. So the thing about this is little sister is not bound by the same rules and regulations that Big Brother are. So, a private company can sell data to government agents, be it local, state, federal, because the companies aren't bound by the Fourth Amendment. The government is. But if they are provided information, that's a different animal. So a week later, another city in Virginia is being sued for its network of flock ALPR cameras. Unlike what was seen in Richmond, Virginia, where a court ruled a few hits from a reverse search of a vehicle's description didn't raise constitutional concerns, the flock of flocks in Norfolk is a bit more concerning. Even the city's top cop has admitted it's a panopticon enabled by easy to use and even easier to monitor cameras provided by Flock. So Mark Talbot, the police chief, said last year it would be difficult to drive anywhere of any distance without running into a camera. This is like what the UK has deployed.
Oh, absolutely. Like it's constant surveillance, at least in urban areas.
Right. And even in some rural areas, based on what we've seen and read about, like places in like Ireland and elsewhere, Europe is not shy from using cameras to enforce rule and monitor in case of some accident somewhere or whatever might happen. So it says there's more to it than this, just a network of ALPR cameras. The ALPR systems are designed to notify law enforcement when plates on alert lists pass a camera. It's a passive system that doesn't require nor allow constant monitoring by law enforcement. Instead, the system basically uses machine learning, artificial intelligence to scan the real-time video. And when a camera detects this series of characters, it notifies. This is largely the way.
That's also a problem, right? They might have the wrong license plate.
Oh, but that isn't my problem. I'm just the officer that's, firing rounds into your vehicle. Oh, wait, did I? No. I might actually end up running afoul of certain new policy at Twitch, by the way, because I'm supposed to flag anything that has a social discourse element to it. I have to flag it as political or something else. I have to read the thing again. I found out about it today. So, and I won't get into it, but I'm not a partner or an affiliate on Twitch. So, at any rate, yeah. So the sentient AI kind of alluded to an issue that where I went through something because I was misidentified as being a suspect. And after I missed a contract, I showed up late to a contract pitch and lost that contract, a very lucrative contract, mind you. But I had no real legal recourse because you can't guarantee the outcome. But if I would have been there on time, I guarantee you I would have gotten that contract, at least in my perception, right? Well, 2.5 hours later and 3 cops and basically a battalion of inquiry, they go, oh, your license plate was incorrectly put into New York's database. Yeah. So the weird thing about it is, how did the officer know that my license plate was suspect? Unless they were typing in every freaking license plate that they were passing by.
Looking for something that looked like a certain word.
Right. Or that particular vehicle. Right. So how many times is an officer witnessing an alert about a vehicle and they happen to stumble across one that's
in an entirely different state?
Yeah. So they say there's more to it. So the system is basically automatically, but I find this so dystopian, and it's going to happen here in the States. You're not going to be able to get away from this. You're not going to be able to shut it down. They say here, the argument here is that it's a warrantless surveillance of people's movements violates the Fourth Amendment, even if a single plate or photo is not a violation in and of itself. Whether this argument will generate favorable judicial action depends on whether or not the court decides to view the hundreds of thousands of photos captured by the 172 cameras as a whole, or whether it decides each of these hundreds of thousands on its own individual observation of a vehicle on a public road, which has never been considered a Fourth Amendment violation. The problem is that everybody is being tracked. It doesn't have to be by a human. They're being tracked.
Right, and it's different if a human's standing on a corner and catching 10 cars go by. It's another if you're being monitored at 100 different or 172 or whatever locations in the city simultaneously.
And the argument is always, and this is the counter that I always get into a debate about, well, if you're not committing a crime, you have nothing to worry about. Well, I hate to break it to you, but it starts with that phrase and ends
Right,
with,
get your thing into the system, and then suddenly you are the suspect, whether you're really doing anything or not.
and you can look at a 15 to 20 year span of time where Horizon was incriminating people with faulty information, and they were being charged, prosecuted, thrown in jail, and others either.
I was just about to bring that up. Yeah.
Yeah. So if the information verifies that you are the assailant or violator or whatever, then you are, because the people who couldn't do this on
It's
their own,
self-referencing, right?
yeah, they point at themselves and go,
How
well,
do
the
we know
system
you were on the
says.
corner? Well, the system said you were on the corner. Well, how do we know the system said? Well, the system said.
Exactly. Yeah. And you can't drag a computer system into court. And the officers or the people that are in charge of this don't get dragged into court, because all they're going to do is point. It's kind of like a speed camera or a radar gun, right? So if the cop tags you with the gun, you can drag the cop in and go, hey, blah, blah, blah. When was the last time you verified the variability of your radar gun?
Like the
Are you actually,
calibration or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah. You can question it, and then odds on, they'll either go, well, all of my ducks were in a row, so you're screwed. Or, yeah, I failed to do this, and so you walk. But when it's a camera that's just tracking you, ding, 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 suddenly you are in violation of something. And that's what I said about the other article. If you're in a surveillance state and everything is being recorded, then in perpetuity, they can go back and catch every single instance of you being anywhere. And why do I talk about this? Because 20 years ago, I actually wrote a research paper on using drones in a combat theater for long-term surveillance of the inhabitants to try and stop IEDs from being planted. So I know full well about what long-term surveillance is capable of. And this is dystopian. We're not in a combat theater, and we're not looking for people who are doing horrendous crimes against humanity, for crying out loud.
Right.
It's
Most of the people are doing at first like running, like not stopping enough at a stop sign or something, which I'm not saying isn't a problem. But
right.
my point is, it's not on the same scale.
Yeah. And by the way, all of this video has the potential of being stored in the Utah data center, which is the NSA data center. And am I worried about being on a watch list? No, not really. I'm probably on all three of them already because, well, several of them because of what I do. So that's not a big concern. I may not be on any of them, as a matter of fact. I'm probably on a couple.
Oh, you'll find out as soon as you go through an airport.
Yeah, the body cop.
But remember, you'll be able to scan yourself, so maybe that'll
That's
work out
right.
okay.
That's right. No. So my reason for bringing this up is because you will not be able to claw it back. It's happening in various places, and there's money to be made, and policy and procedure is being written by little sister, provided to big brother, and then it gets implemented. And then
Well, and you can see why it's so attractive. That doesn't mean it's a good thing.
it's
Right. The
easy.
companies want to make money. Exactly. It takes fewer resources for police departments and everything. I think everybody's probably looking at it and going, hey, this is a good thing.
Yep. Yep.
But you're right. Once it gets implemented everywhere, it's not going to be, um, turned away or taken down.
Yeah. And just to put icing on the cake here, when there is conflict, a government is more likely to deploy a solution like this. And there are people that will follow along and say this is a good thing, except that we've never needed it before, but suddenly we need it now. And that's because the technology is available and things are getting a little out of hand.
So that's not anybody asking whether we should deploy it, right?
Right. And so what's going to end up happening is some conflict somewhere in some other state is going to occur. And then the city government or the state government deploys this stuff. And then it's bolstered because people in the legal corner of this are going to say, well,
it's okay over here.
It was okay over here. And we see that there is a rise in this or the other. And so we deployed it and suddenly it went down. But that's not really what causes crime to decline. What causes crime to decline is opportunity. When there is no trouble and strife in terms of survival, there is opportunity to get a job, get an education at a reasonable rate, afford your property, buy a car at a reasonable rate, interest rates are acceptable, etc. But opportunity for all of this to live your life, you see crime decline. There will always be people who are criminals who aspire to do something outside the bounds of the social construct. But this is going to catch a whole myriad of people and it'll be abused later on. We know this because we've talked about that over the last 3 years, where people in a position of power utilize this type of stuff to monitor people that they are personally interested in. The FBI has done it. Police have done it. Medical professionals have done it. All kinds of people have done it. They've used surveillance capabilities or data aggregation services or whatever they have access to exploit it for personal gain. And this can be easily abused. Where was this person? Quickly do a search for a license plate and suddenly that company up in Canada is selling you a report for $250.
Right. We still don't know what that's based on.
And that one, it seems to be AI hallucination. So at any rate, we're going to reboot the cameras here for the from the Panopticon Purveyors Beware Department. And that's going to bring us all the way back to the front page of ohmtown.com, where all of this news is aggregated 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. When you sleep, this thing's still aggregating. And why? Because I suffer from information overload and you are guaranteed to as well. So use ohmtown.com, filter out whatever you're not interested in. There's 50 different categories. I may change them as time goes on, but it's usually based on a particular topic, no longer of great interest or concern. And then it gets moved out. But I haven't moved anything out in about 2.5 years. So since we started the show, I haven't moved anything out. But it's up to you, because once you're signed in, you can actually hide articles by swiping left or right, save them or hide them. And you can also subscribe to your own articles or topics. Each one of these has a description of what the topics are. So go sign up. Ta-da. Thanks for hanging out. I hope you enjoy the show. We're going to shut down. We'll see you tomorrow. I am Mayor Watt, and the sentient AI is going to... What do you want to do today? Do you want to sing a song? Do you want to just say bye?
No, I never want to sing a song.
Oh, okay.
Let's just put that out there.
All right.
Okay, well, good night, ohmTown citizens. Thanks for joining us for Non Sequitur News. Be back tomorrow.
Man, every time the way you end, it makes me think that you're going to say something else, but that's not what happens. And I'm like, it's like I'm yelling and somebody turns off the music at a party. So there I was, standing with a squirrel in my hands. Dance, dance.